I think we got it. I think I got it. Let me go to my settings. Thank you. Happy birthday. Thank you. Audio. Let me make sure. Yep. Okay. I hit the. Still don't have anything? All right. We're good. Thanks. I think that's Thomas Frank there. So I appreciate you jumping on and letting me know that, man. I hit the mute button on this wonderful Yeti mic when I was moving it and didn't see it and didn't see the flashing red light. So what I was saying is I've been wanting to do a solo episode of One Man's Journey since I started it, and really I'm going to do more and more of them. It's been something I've been putting off, and if I'm being honest, it's completely out of fear of what comes on the other side. And so going to be as vulnerable as I can here in the next 25 to 30 minutes, and I appreciate you hanging on with me through the technical difficulties and through me telling my story. There's Ryan Owens. Even though nobody's logging in, I can tell my friends with these specific sayings that they say. Little King. That's what Ryan Owens and I call each other. Great dude. If you don't know him, reach out to him, as well as Thomas Frank there, who I believe is the other commenter. Both great guys who have been integral in my journey. But telling my story here. So starting, if I start from the beginning, way back. Yes, I am an Aries. Way back from the beginning, I was born in Winona, Minnesota, and we lived there for a few years in a duplex that I vaguely remember. Obviously, going, living there till I was 3, and then moving to Rolling Stone, which is what I call my true home, is Rolling Stone, Minnesota. Small town. I think now there's only about 500 people in the town. And the entire time I lived there was 697. And I say that because the census came in the year 2000 and the census came in the year 2010. And both times, actually, it might have been 1990 and 2000, but both times the census was 697 exactly. So nobody left and nobody was born and nobody passed away, I guess. But for 2 censuses in a row, it was 697. And so that warranted, a lot of what some people from the bigger cities would call as a negative, and I would call purely positive, of growing up in a small town with a select number of people that everybody knew who you were and everybody knew if you got in trouble. And so you were held accountable by many people. And growing up that way, I often looked at that as, pressure or something that's just difficult to describe as a kid, almost like you were expected to succeed. And with my last name in the city as well, my grandfather, Leroy Speltz, owned a lot of land in the area, owned a few farms in the area, was very well known. And then now that's since passed through to my uncle and my cousin, I believe. And so the name is very well known. My last name was very well known. So I didn't really have any anonymity growing up. And so, that provided its own challenges for me when I was a kid, and not recognizing those challenges or that pressure that was there. Growing up was just, you just grew up and you were who you were, and you didn't recognize that any of that was there. And that was okay for me growing up. I enjoyed my childhood. My childhood was a loving one from both of my parents. It was my dad worked his butt off to, when my parents worked together, my dad worked his butt off to work 2 jobs. My mom was running a daycare and working her butt off, watching a bunch of kids run around. And I'm sure that was difficult to pass on. Some of the growing up that I was doing, she had to, somewhat miss, I would say, because of all the other children that were in the home and her job. And I know my dad missed some of my childhood and some of my growing up because of him, having 2 jobs and just trying to keep food on the table and make sure that everything was going smoothly that way. And I've spoken, with my parents about some of that difficulty and kind of how that comes along, and knowing that from my past has really driven some of my future and my present right now is I don't want to have to be in that scenario. And especially with, my first son on the way, and I say my first son because I'm hoping for 2 sons and a daughter would be, the perfect scenario. But my first child on the way, I really have set that into intention of I don't want to have to be the dad that's working all the time, or the dad that has to go out and really, put it out to put food on the table or live paycheck to paycheck or any of that. I want to provide a different level, and I know Carrie does too. And so that really has sparked some growth for the future. Growing up, when my parents got divorced, it was really difficult for me. It was really spread into multiple directions, and I didn't know what was going on. And it was right as I was entering my formative years, and there was a lot going on in my head, and really I just kind of put all my focus into sports and into school. And at that time I was also somewhat, I don't want to say gifted, but I was, school came easy to me, and sports really did kind of come easy to me as well. And that was, something that I look on now as a difficulty, because it took a lot of years for me to fight through when adversity like that was put in my face. And, when that was put into my face in college, I folded, and I folded for numerous reasons, but, number one was because of alcohol. And having an out of being able to just go out and utilize that to become interactive and become social and everything I wanted to be. I always wanted to be, included, and I never was, and I couldn't figure out why. And I often thought it was because I was less than, and I was not someone that was able to be entered into groups because I wasn't as good as those people, or I wasn't as popular, I wasn't as strong, I wasn't as good looking, I wasn't any of the numerous things, as I grew up were very much those themes of I never felt like I was good enough. And this is of no fault of my parents. I do remember one specific time where, I felt like the added pressure of the outside world kind of seeped into my family. And I remember a conversation I had with my dad specifically in a truck. I was probably 7 or 8. And I just remember saying, like, I feel like I'm never good enough. And I was bawling my eyes out. And my dad being there for me to really remind me that, like, I didn't have to succeed. I didn't have to be the best at everything to succeed. And it was amazing for me to have that space. And that's really created some room for me. It didn't necessarily create it right away. I didn't recognize the room was there and the space was there, but it's definitely changed who I am today to recognize that, and being able to come into a situation where I'm able to be free in a space that I didn't recognize I was going to be able to be free in. And to have the courage to come on here, to have the ability and the wherewithal to come on here and be able to put together what I've put together and all of that stuff. And you have that too. And that's, declaring the first message of this would be, allow yourself to fail and allow yourself to not be as good as you think you are, or you thought you should be. And recognize that that's an okay place to be, because it's a learning space. It's a place where you're able to adjust after and make changes that are better for you moving forward. And there's just so many opportunities in a space of not feeling good enough that it's a strength piece. It's not a weakness. And the more you recognize that, the more that life is going to get easier for you and be able to process through. And so as I went through college, a lot of the alcohol issues just stayed there, and I didn't recognize they were issues years now. And that's been life-changing in itself and could be its own episode, being just about sobriety. But the clarity didn't come until after I gave up the alcohol. And there was a lot of episodes of stupidity or drunkenness, or not controlling the alcohol and not recognizing that it was a problem for a very, very long time. And I was able to, get to a place where I look back at that and say, that built me. And so one of the themes of my life at this point is the challenges that you've had in the past are not negatives. They are not to be looked back on and go, that's why I'm here. Do not make your challenges and your weaknesses your fortress of your life. And what I mean by that is being able to build walls up with those things and say, well, I am this way because of that, and allowing yourself to live small because of it. They're your fuel, not your fortress. Those things have built you into the strong person that you are. And if you look back and you want to say that you weren't able to respond in the moments of what you thought you should have. You're looking back with hindsight and with expertise that you probably learned from that scenario or from multitude of those scenarios, and you're looking back and judging a former self that doesn't exist anymore. You're looking back at a former self who didn't have the tools and have the strength and have the knowledge that you have now. And so looking back and judging yourself of the past, there is no success in that. There is no ability in growth from that. But what they are is your ability to go, I went through that and I'm still here. And oftentimes in my my time frames here and with some of the things that I've said, it's like, you know, I've gone through all this stuff and I'm still fucking here. I fucking made it through. And so you can utilize those things as your strength and your fuel, and look back and use the pain that you went through to grow into a place where you don't have to experience that pain anymore. That pain existed then, it doesn't have to exist now. And so a lot of the things that I've gone through in life, whether self-induced or self-started or spiraled into something different from a decision that was made, you know, I claim ownership on all of those things, and yet still give myself the space to recognize that I was not in a position to change at that point in time or to become better at that point in time. And now that's a whole different game. And it's because of all of those difficulties I went through. When I was in high school, I played baseball a lot, obviously, is really all I did. And that was the focus going into college, and the focus even at college, and or what I thought was the focus, really, the, you know, the partying and the friendliness and the creating friend groups, quote unquote, ended up being, you know, the focus through college. But I didn't focus on school. I didn't really care about learning. I just either wanted to play baseball, and then I got cut from the baseball team and my entire identity ended, and my entire identity became the fun guy at the party. And I thought I was being the fun guy at the party, and I wasn't. I was the drunk, stupid guy at the party that everyone, you know, I thought I was being accepted because I was drinking, and it was everyone looking at me, oh, Speltz is drunk again. Speltz is wasted again. And, you know, them just wanting me to leave because of that. And having people I thought were close to me on the baseball team really, you know, work through the coach to end up getting me into that situation of being cut because of the actions that I had created that I should have been cut. There was no reason for me to even be on the team. I wasn't in the weight room busting my ass. I wasn't performing for the team. And it was all about just becoming somebody else to fit in. And then, you know, when I graduated college, I went through years of, you know, even in the mortgage industry that I was able to get into a couple of years out of college. It was something that I was like, this isn't my drive. This isn't what I really want to do. This is just the vehicle to be in right now. And we'll see how long it runs. And I wasn't able to find a purpose, an actual purpose in life. I thought it was just go to work, pay the bills, come home. And then I really started diving into reading more in 2019 and 2020. And then, you know, the pandemic happened and it changed our life completely. And it really got focused around money again and systems, and like the 2 best years in the mortgage industry. And I made so much money. And I look back and I go, that just didn't matter. The money didn't matter. And so, you know, recently you guys have kind of seen a shift in the content that we've been creating with One Man's Journey, with Reconnect, with even the mortgage side. The content is different, and the content's coming from a place of purpose. And I'm able to recognize that, you know, when I was able to find some purpose, life got a whole lot easier. And I was able to focus on, you know, that one purpose of driving to create better people and better society. And while that sounds egotistical as hell, it can be as small as changing one person. It doesn't have to be hundreds or thousands. And really the thought process behind that is changing the mindset. And I don't have to change your mindset by calling you out or directly talking to you. Most of the videos I'm putting out, I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to my own mind. I'm talking to the old me, or the me that I am today that I don't want to be anymore, or the ones that I want to improve. I'm able to just speak directly to myself in a lot of these videos. And if it resonates with you, then come along for the ride. If it resonates with you, then it was made for you. And I truly believe that multiple people across time and space can have the same feelings and have the same drive and have the same purpose. And if you're the person that has that same purpose as me, or at least share some of your purpose with me, I'm here for it. I'm here to run that thing as long as we can together. And that's what the journey of One Man's Journey is finding the people that I'm resonating with and that are resonating with my content, and I'm resonating with their content, and I'm just inviting them on to share space and discuss things that matter. Because if we're consistently just discussing the weather or business or how many transactions we're currently doing or what our volume levels are, we're missing it. We're missing it. We're missing the fact that this business that we are in, that many of you that are watching are in real estate and mortgage, you're missing the fact that the connection is the win. The dollar is the result of the win. And if you're able to create that connection, you will win more than you will lose. Because the connection piece drives it straight to the end. And you're able to free yourself from the space of having to feel like the perfect loan officer, the perfect real estate agent, the one that does everything correct, the one that has all the answers. You're able to free yourself from that feeling. Because when you create the connection, there's space for mistakes. There's space for not knowing. There's space for the statement to be made, I'm not 100% sure on that. Let me dive into the guidelines to make sure. I don't really know the answer to that. Let me ask some of my more experienced friends that are in real estate and see if I can find that answer for you. Those words are so freeing when you can say them without worry of losing your client. And I would argue that if you're doing a good enough job up front of connecting with people, not just with clients, with people, you're able to say a lot more of things like those statements. You're able to create space for yourself to just not know something. And building a business like that has been amazing. I went from 50 transactions 2 years in a row to 18 last year to 1 in January. And it was because I was holding on to the result of what was coming. And I was holding on to this perfect thought of what the business should look like. And then when I was able to release it, we went from 0 transactions in the pipeline, legitimately 0, in the middle of February, to 7, maybe 8 now in the pipeline a month later. And that's not just because the business picked up, because you don't just get 7 deals out of nowhere. It's because I've been able to connect with people and allow myself the space to let go of a result. So if I'm reaching out to you, as whether you're a real estate agent, a loan officer, I have no agenda except connection. I have no agenda except to find people to fill my circle that fill my heart. And being able to live life like that is amazingly freeing. And I hope that you are able to find that feeling. And it starts by letting go of some things. And it's letting go of a lot of the small stuff. Yeah, I let go of a big one in the alcohol. That was a big let go for me. But it can start by just letting go of the guy cutting you off in traffic and you not screaming at him. It's letting go of punishing yourself when you forgot something at home, or when you have to do something twice because you messed it up. Stop punishing yourself and just let it go, and just dive right back in and fix what you messed up. And when you can let go of judgment of yourself, you'll recognize that other people aren't judging you as much as you think they are. And so that leads me into my last kind of hoorah here. And starting with love makes everyone around you love more. And really, it can start with as small as walking by with a smile. We're all pursuing happiness. We all want to have happiness on a regular basis. We all want to wake up in the morning and just be happy. And happiness is a choice, and love is a choice. And so choosing love over choosing being angry with someone who crossed you, or choosing love over any other feeling that puts a wedge between you and that person. Try to challenge yourself to think a loving thought first. So when that person does cut you off in traffic, instead of thinking, this idiot just cut me off, think, I wonder if that person has somewhere they really need to be. And give the grace and the space for that person to be themselves. And you can do the same for yourself. So when that moment comes where you forget your office keys at home and you've got to drive all the way home to get your office keys, and now you're an hour late for work or getting into the office, you're able to give yourself the grace of going, well, maybe I should put them in a different spot so that I remember them every time. Can I leave the office keys in the car so I don't forget them? And just thinking that way about yourself will change the outcome of 95% of what you do. It'll change the ability for you to see the positive in almost everything. And this is not me up here preaching. This is not me up here telling you that I do these things all the time. I have my days where things are just not the day to be. And I find myself getting better at being able to stop those days from being whole days and really just being parts of days at this point. Being able to stop that feeling, that thought process from destroying an entire day. It now only destroys minutes or maybe an hour, and just separate, give myself time to reset and come back in and do it again. And so when you're walking by that person on the street today, make sure you smile. Make sure you're able to reach out with a smile. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to make some grand gesture, but just smile at them. And I love it because scientifically their brain will smile back at you, whether they show it on their face or not. And I'm not talking one of the, the stereotypical just smirks. Give some teeth. Show some teeth in your smile. And watch the world around you respond differently when you approach them. So thanks for watching my first ever solo live episode. Thanks for listening if you're listening on the replay. And I'm always here for you. And so if you're growing, if you're looking to get better, you're in the right place. And I thank you for being here.